Hello and welcome to the Intentional Brief, your weekly video update on the one big thing in cybersecurity news for growth stage companies, their investors, and their management teams. I'm your host, Shay Colson, managing partner at Intentional Cybersecurity, and you can find us online at intentionalcyber.com. Today is Monday, September 3rd, 2024, and I think we're both surprised that it's September already. It really does feel like we're about to start the sprint to the end of the year from here, which will include a major election here in the United States. So being able to focus on the things we need to do and not get distracted by the things that we can't change is going to be a real advantage, I think, in the days and weeks ahead, which is exactly what we're going to talk about this week. It was clear to me that this past week of cybersecurity news was dominated by comments and stories about novel, advanced techniques being employed by a various range of nation states to carry out attacks against their victims. This includes reports that Chinese hackers have been using zero-day vulnerabilities to infect at least 4 US-based internet service providers with malware that steals credentials used by downstream customers, and another report from Chinese threat actors that they have some state-linked influence operations that are going to have already become more aggressive in its efforts to influence the U.S. elections, or at least the political conversations here in the United States ahead of the 2024 election. Google released a report last week from their threat analysis group, TAG, that calls out the Russian government for some of their state-backed actors using exploits first developed by the commercial surveillance industry. Iran is being accused by both the FBI and CISA of having some of their hackers, a group known as Pioneer Kitten, being sent to continue to, quote, exploit American schools, banks, hospitals, defense sector orgs, and government agencies, along with targets in Israel, Azerbaijan, and the UAE. The FBI assesses a significant percentage of these threat actors' operations against the U.S. organizations are intended to obtain and develop network access, quote, to then collaborate with ransomware affiliate actors to deploy ransomware. Not great. Finally, to round out the news on CRINC, which is China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, Microsoft's threat intelligence team and their security response center has flagged a North Korean threat actor who is exploiting another zero-day vulnerability, this time in Chromium, targeting the cryptocurrency sector for financial gain. Pair that news with the recent reports of North Korean threat actors getting legitimate tech jobs in the West and then using those salaries to fund their country's illicit nuclear program. And it seems like nation-state actors are everywhere. And so while these are the stories that are getting the headlines, and for good reason, these are things that should be acknowledged and written about and talked about, I'm going to ask you to actually ignore these headlines and focus on those things that we can control and the things that we are actually responsible for. You know, building your defenses against an attacker based on the characteristics of the attacker is generally, I think, a suboptimal strategy, to say the least. But I think these attacks aren't even particularly novel, right? Most of these are just leveraging unpatched systems, whether they're unpatched because it's a 0-day and there is no patch, or they're unpatched because they simply haven't been patched yet, or the vulnerability management program is lacking or non-existent at the victim. These are things that we are well aware of in terms of how they work and how to defend against them. So while it's tempting to kind of follow these attention-grabbing headlines and dig into these stories, that really is only a distraction. Our job isn't to defeat the nation states, it's to build defensible cyber programs for our own firms and the companies that we work for. I think just like the election headlines, where your job is just to vote in November, the rest is mostly just noise. So I think if your defenses aren't robust, diverse, defensible, demonstrable, automated, and well-resourced with people, processes, and technology, focus on those things instead of the headlines here or chasing ghosts in your enterprise that might be, the exciting thing from North Korea, from China, from Russia, from Iran. I think we often fail to account in this industry for the fact that time is absolutely our scarcest resource, and there's always more that can be done from a work perspective in cybersecurity. It's about prioritizing that work to do the things that will manage down our highest impact risks. Again, likelihood times impact, and doing so as rapidly as possible given the resources that we have. From a fundraising perspective, not a bad week heading into the Labor Day holiday, with about $7.5 billion in newly committed capital spread over 10 or so funds, including 3 that were over $1 billion each. Although in the market, we continue to be in a bit of a wait and see mode. I think it'll be clear in the next week or two whether that mood will break and we'll see some movement between the September-October timeframes, or if we're going to stick in that wait and see mode all the way through till the election in November and maybe a little beyond. But for now, the next couple of weeks, I think will be telling, and we'll just have to watch this space. With that, a reminder that you can find all the links to the articles we talked about in the comments section below. You can find back issues and written transcripts for these videos at intentionalcyber.com, and we will see you next week for another edition of the Intentional Brief.